This is the Hyundai Creta. It's a car that Hyundai calls the perfect SUV. And just to verify that claim, we decided to take along another SUV which has been in the Indian market for a long time, Mahindra's XUV500. So, let's find out which one is better and which one makes more sense for your money. In terms of styling, the Mahindra can seriously split opinion and can really cause some serious debates between friends. Some like its butch and aggressive stance, while others think that it's overdone in the styling department. That said, this car's big bulk gives it a lot more road presence than the Creta's compact dimensions. The Creta though does look the sharper of the two, and its mini Santa Fe looks will really wow each and every member of your family. It looks stylish, it looks modern, and it really does look very upmarket. This is the SUV to be seen in each time you go out for that party. Well, Mahindra have made some subtle changes inside the cabin of the new XUV500, and the new changes of course include introduction of this new touchscreen entertainment system, and I have to say that in terms of operation and ease of use, its touch controls are one of the best, if not the best, that I have used on any car at this price point in India. The driver's seat now is electrically adjustable, which means that finding a nice and comfortable driving position is a breeze. Well, being an SUV means that you have to excel at utility as well as practicality, and the XUV really does do a fantastic job in that department. You get these two big glove boxes over here where you can keep your odds and ends. Along with those twin glove boxes, you also get one big box over here where you can keep your wallet or your toll receipts, a cool glove box over here where you can keep your cold beverages. You also get two large bottle holders over here, and the door bins are large enough to house those big bottles. But the first thing you'll notice as soon as you step inside the Creta's cabin is the fact that overall this cabin has much better quality than the patchy quality of the XUV500, and all the materials really do feel like they will last well and age really well. Well, in terms of equipment, it's really neck and neck between the Creta as well as the XUV500, and this car does of course remember come with a sat-nav system. You also get Bluetooth connectivity for your stereo, and you also get automatic climate control. But the XUV will offer you a 4x4 option, which means that that car is slightly better at going off-road than the Creta is. Well, surprisingly, Hyundai have left out automatic headlamps as well as automatic wipers, which are both features which are found on the XUV500. Well, in terms of practicality, it's a pretty good place to be in. You get a very large glove box which can hold a couple of bottles in it. You also get a small box over here where you can keep your cell phone and wallet. There are two cup holders right next to the handbrake, and you also get a big tray right ahead of the gear lever where you can keep your cell phone and wallet. Well, but who wins the battle of the front seats? It's a tie between both the cars, because even though the Creta offers you a more premium cabin, it is the XUV which offers you many more features. Well, here I am now in the back seat of the XUV500, and this is one of the better back seats in the SUV segment. As you can see, knee room is really generous, and I do have a place below the front seats where I can put my feet. So in that sense, comfort is very good over here. Headroom is pretty good as well. It is a genuine 3-seater at the back, unlike some of its crossover compact SUV rivals. Well, to extend the comfort even further, you also get AC vents at the back. The XUV500 is one of the better SUVs if you are someone who prefers to be in the back seat rather than the front. Well, it's a no contest in the backseat department. The XUV clearly has the edge over the Creta, and that's largely because it's a much more wider car and also offers you much more knee room over here. But that said, the Creta's back seat isn't a bad place to be. It's a good place to be in. The seat support is good, the backrest angle is excellent, and there's plenty of knee room, and you also get place below the front seats where you can stretch your feet at. So not a bad place, but not as good as the one on the XUV. Well, the good point about the XUV500's boot is the fact that the lid opens up like a hatch. It opens upwards. If you have the last row of seats pulled out, as you can see, there's absolutely no boot space. But that said, if you do stow away these seats into the floor panel, what you do get is a very generous boot space. And as you can see, it's a very flattish loading area. There's no intrusion from the seats themselves, and it's a very boxy and square shape. The other good point is that the loading lip, the loading sill, is minimal, and it's not very high from the ground, unlike most of its other rivals. Well, unlike the XUV500, which is a 7-seater, the Creta, of course, remember, is a 5-seater. And what that means is that it has a very flat and easy to load cargo area, and it is pretty big compared to most of its other rivals. As you can see, it's not a very tall sill from the ground, which means that loading heavier objects will not be an issue, and there's very minimal suspension intrusion as well. But even though it is impressive, it doesn't really have the same loadage capacity as the XUV. So what that essentially means is that the XUV500 wins the battle of the boot with the last row of its seats stowed away. Well, the first thing that will impress you as soon as you start driving the XUV500 is the fact that the engine is supreme on refinement. Well, Mahindra seems to have also worked hard on improving its drivability in the city, and this car now feels a lot more livelier and a lot more responsive to throttle inputs below 2000 RPM. The XUV500 is a monocoque, and what that means is that this car is much more nicer to drive and also does not tend to lean a lot when you are pushing into corners. Well, another plus point of the XUV is the fact that this car comes with a 6-speed manual gearbox, and what that extra gear essentially does is that it gives this car a lot of flexibility. So when you are doing speeds in excess of 100 on the highway, the engine is spinning at a relatively low 2000 RPM, and that makes the cabin a very refined and quiet place to be in. Well, in terms of ride comfort, the XUV500 is pretty good at high speeds, and it does feel pretty stable for such a big SUV. And when you are doing higher speeds, it does manage to annihilate most of the potholes and bad roads. But when you are doing slow city speeds, some of those bumps and potholes do filter their way into the cabin. Well, while most SUV owners don't really buy an SUV for its handling prowess, I have to say that Mahindra have done a good job with the steering wheel on the XUV. It is decent in terms of feel and feedback, and has decent weight in it as well. So if you are someone who takes this car on the highway, it does offer good feedback. Well, one of the key reasons why a lot of people end up buying SUVs is because of the sense of safety and security that these cars offer you, and that's largely because you sit up so high over here inside an SUV and look down on other puny hatchbacks, and the XUV is no different in that matter. What also adds to the appeal of this car is the fact that the glass area is nice and huge and really does add to the sense of airiness inside this cabin. Well, the first word which comes to mind as soon as you start driving the Creta is refinement. This car is a lot more refined than the XUV500, and that's largely due to the fact that the CRDI motor on this car feels a lot more smoother. Along with that smooth motor, you also get a very crisp gearbox. Remember, the gearbox on the XUV500 is very clunky and heavy to operate, but the one on the Creta is a lot more lighter and does not really need a heavy hand to shift. Well, the smooth engine, the light gearbox, as well as the light steering wheel makes the Creta a much more easier car to drive around city than the heavy and little bit lethargic XUV. Well, even though the XUV offers you more outright power, remember the Creta is a lighter vehicle when compared to the XUV. So with that light curb weight, this car feels a lot more livelier as well as agile when you are punting it around city traffic. And even when you are on the highway, it is the Creta's engine which does feel a lot more responsive than the one on the XUV500. Well, when it comes to high-speed manners, both these cars are more or less the same, but yes, it is the XUV which has the slight advantage because it offers you more flatter ride than the Creta does, and some of the sharper bumps and potholes do manage to filter into the Creta's cabin at higher speed, but the XUV does manage to annihilate them. Well, the Creta isn't as tall as the XUV500, so it doesn't have that same awe-inspiring seating position, and you don't really look down on puny hatchbacks. But that said, it is a pretty high-set seat, and it does feel like you are driving a very tall hatchback, and the relatively compact dimensions of this car make it a much easier car to take around city traffic than the gigantic dimensions of the XUV500. Well, not only does the Creta have a light and easy to operate gearbox, it also offers you a 6-speed gearbox, and what that means is that the engine has a lot more flexibility, especially when you take it out on the highway. So if you are doing speeds in excess of 100 kph on the highway, the engine is spinning at a relatively low 2000 RPM, and that really goes a long way in aiding fuel economy. Well, in terms of braking, it is neck and neck between both these cars, and both these cars offer you a very reassuring feel when you push that brake pedal down. Well, the XUV500 clearly has the advantage in two areas over the Creta. It comes with a 4x4 option and also offers you more interior space. Well, but that said, the Hyundai Creta comes with its own set of advantages. It offers you a more refined as well as more fuel-efficient diesel engine. It comes with a better built cabin, and it's also much more easy to drive when you are in the city. Well, that along with its stylish silhouette, as well as the trusted Hyundai brand name makes this car not only the winner of this test today, but also makes it the best compact SUV that you can buy at the moment in India.